Welcome to the webinar, The Self-Storage Success Formula, Education, Innovation, and In-Person Connections. Brought to you by the Storage Group. We have over 15 years of experience of working with self-storage facilities to maximize their online presence. We offer progressive websites, targeted digital advertising, and online rental software, helping facilities like yours gain visibility, convert more renters, and generate revenue. Enjoy the webinar.
Hello, everyone, and welcome in. Thank you for joining us for the Storage Group's new webinar series called The Megabyte. Today, we are talking all about the self-storage success formula, education, innovation, and in-person conference connections. Why did we pick this theme for this month? Because we are in the middle of trade show season. We just got off the National SSA in San Antonio last week, which I will give you some recap on that one. And then, as many of you know, in a few weeks upcoming in Las Vegas is the Inside Self Storage event. So we are in the thick of everything. Just a couple quick housekeeping items before we get started today. If you go into the comment section and you have questions for us while we are here live today, please feel free to ask those questions. We're actually going to ask some questions of the audience today too. So please stay engaged with us. But without further ado, I'm going to start bringing up our speakers today to get you introduced to them. I've got some great industry veterans here with us today. And my first guest with us today is Jim Mooney Jr. from the SBOA. So let's bring Jim up. Hey, Jim.
Hi, Miss Jess. How are you today?
I'm doing well, Jim. So, Jim, tell me where you are today.
I am, this should be a national holiday, Jess. I am at the home opener for the Phillies game in Philadelphia.
Awesome.
So there's nothing better than home opener.
I love it. I love it. Well, Jim, not only where are you today, tell us who you are, what you do, and who you work for. What's up?
I'm, again, Jim Mooney Jr. I am currently get to serve as the president of the SBOA. I joined the firm in December. Following in some other, people's footsteps. I've been in the industry 27 years now. Been an operator for all 27 of them. Now being on the vendor side is definitely different atmosphere. I actually had to build a booth in Vegas, which was first time for me. So I've been an operator at heart. I've been everything in an operation from a site manager to a regional area manager, VP of operations, owner of facility. So I love self-storage. It's near and dear to my heart, and I love talking operations.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for being here with us today, and we'll bring you back up in just a few seconds. Next up, I have Lou from Universal Storage Group. Good afternoon, Lou. How are you?
I'm great, Jess. How are you?
I'm doing well. Lou, tell me all about you, how long you've been doing this, what you've done in the industry, and what Universal's about.
Well, I don't think I'm having as much fun as Jim is right now. I'm sitting in my home office in the frozen tundra of upstate New York. But hi, guys. My name's Lou Barnholt. I am currently the Vice President of Sales and Development with Universal Storage Group. I've been with USG for 26 years,
Wow.
Primarily with a background rooted in operations. So this is kind of a new role for me on the sales end for about the last 2 years. So USG, real quick, we're a third-party management and consulting firm. We partner with owners across the country. We do everything from feasibility and development all the way through day-to-day operations and performance improvement. I think our approach is pretty simple: strong people, smart marketing, practical revenue management, tailored to each party or to each property. So it's absolutely not a one-size-fits-all model for us. So I'm really glad to be here. Thanks for the invite and excited to jump into today's conversation.
Yeah, happy to talk shop with you. I always learn when you and I talk. So thanks for being here with us. And of course, last but certainly not least, and this guy's a really important guy in this industry, I have with us Scott Zucker. Hey, Scott, how you doing?
Good. Glad to join you all.
Thank you. Tell us why you're an important guy, Scott.
Well, I thought it was funny that you were going in alphabetical order a little bit. Gotta save the Zuckers for last. So I am a self-storage lawyer. I've been working with the self-storage industry as a counselor and writer and speaker for close now to 40 years, and love working with landlords, operators, and managers to meet the regulatory compliance of their business in the self-storage industry. So it's a lot of great people, and including this wonderful panel, and you as a moderator. Look forward to the conversation.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this one, especially, like I said, coming off of last week, National SSA. So I brought Lou and Jim back up, and I'm just going to kick this off with a couple thoughts and a couple of takeaways that I have from last week. First of all, great event, San Antonio, such a fun city. The Honky Tonk Hoedown that they did for networking for everyone was so much fun. Shout out to the National SSA. Those ladies work really hard to bring us great events. Good education that we were able to sit in on. The keynote speaker was the creator of Ring Doorbell. I learned a lot in his session. Actually, I sat next to Mr. Mooney in that session, and we were talking back and forth while he was talking. But a couple quick things. Obviously, Public Storage's announcement of acquiring NSA is really changing kind of the tone and setting the lay of the land for what the future of self-storage may be. Obviously, buying that portfolio brings Public Storage now into tertiary and secondary markets. So the mom and pops of those markets really need to be aware of what's happening, especially from a marketing perspective. I'm a marketer, and Lou, we can talk about that further as we go into this, but there's implications here for the smaller guys, right? They need to be aware. The market's taking a little bit longer to correct than I think people originally anticipated, even as early as of January of this year to March of this year. They're saying, well, I think it might take a little bit longer. I think the mantra, and I got this from David Allen, he's a Canadian operator. He always puts a great recap of notes after the event. So shout out to David for me getting this information from that. But the mantra in 2025 was survive in 2025. And now we're thinking we'll be great in 2028. So correction's going to take a little bit longer than I think all of us want. That's where we are at as an industry. AI is here to stay, guys. You better figure it out. You better adopt it, and you better use it properly. And Scott can give us some pointers on how to use it properly. Anything with automation, there are legal implications to some of this stuff too. So we need to be aware. Data is critical. I think you have to be a really dialed in operator right now to really get, profitability where it needs to be. So talking about some of those data components that we can use as operators, Jim and Lou, I'll probably go to you on some of those questions. Obviously, what are you using? What works in your portfolio? Two more points. I think AI solutions right now, from what I saw from owners and operators, they really are focusing on the tenant experience versus what it can do for their internal operations, save them money on labor. I can give some stats later on one of our AI products and how that is saving some major labor costs for owners and operators. And then I again, just to kind of circle back to the comment I made a minute ago, I think operators that really have strategy and dial in and are making cuts where it makes sense, or adding a tech stack where it makes sense, or adding marketing dollars makes sense, they are going to be the ones that win in the market. So that was a big, long recap, but I wanted to just kind of set the tone for this. So I think, Jim, I'll start with you. Success, you've been in the industry for a while. Success maybe back in the day looks way different than it does now. Kind of tell me what your thoughts are on the evolution of what you've seen in the industry.
Well, Jess, I think you're 100% right. And a lot of people have gotten into this industry during COVID and around COVID. So a lot of people don't realize what it was like before COVID. So I still had that mindset. I got stores are 85, 90% occupied. And yes, we're not seeing the COVID numbers as far as high dollars for rates. But a lot of us are still strong. Now the caveat is we're paying more for tech stacks. We're paying more for employees than we ever did. So our expenses have dramatically gone up. But I think it really boils back down to basics. And a lot of operators got, I don't want to say lazy during the COVID time, but we were so full, and they didn't worry about the basic stuff. And Lee, you probably tested this, that the lead follow-up and the lead, taking care of the person when they call you, inquire with you, and doing the follow-up to close the lead, it's not happening as much as it should be. I can tell you, I just shopped a company that had 10 stores, And I called all 10 stores, and one manager took my name and number. One. And if you're not doing the bait, look, I mean, storage is an event-driven business. People need us when they need us. And if we're not ready to answer the phone, answer the email, call them back, text, whatever, however they're contacting us, if we're not on it, we've lost them, because we're in such a need it now society. And I made a comment in San Antonio. I took my kids to Disney in December, and there was one line, it was 40 minutes long, and both of my kids said, no, I don't want to wait. I'm like, really? We're in Disney. That's the mentality a lot of people have today, is if you don't answer the phone or get back to somebody in 15 or 30 minutes, they're gone, and they're going to the next person. So getting back, again, I said this last year, getting back to basics, doing the right things we need to do, answering the phone, calling people back is critical.
Yeah, absolutely. I would definitely agree with that. And it is just some of those small triggers that you need to make sure are implemented within your business model and operations. Lou, I'll shoot this one over to you, and I'm going to pop this up on the screen too. I asked this of the audience. What's one area of your business you're looking to improve this year? We would like to hear from you. So if you could put your answers in the chat for us, that would be great. But Lou, you talk to operators all day, every day. Obviously, you do third-party management, so you do reviews with them on, the health of their asset and what's going on at their asset. What do you see operators' biggest challenge that they're facing right now?
I think the biggest challenge right now is that the rules of the game have changed in our industry. So it's not necessarily that operators are doing a bad job. I think the majority of operators are doing a good job. It's that technology, marketing costs, customer expectations, all of those things have changed and increased at the same time. So, keeping up with the pace is where I think most of that pressure is coming from.
Yeah, absolutely. Scott, this one's for you. So many years ago, for anybody that's been in the industry for any length of time, any type of legislative bills were pretty minimal back in the day. I think, back in the early day, you might have seen 6 annually, and now it's up to 63 plus. Why do you think there's such a spotlight on self-storage now that has induced some of this activity with the bill activity and legislation?
Well, a lot of these are consumer-driven legislative actions. I mean, what you didn't bring up that was talked about a lot during the conference last week was the Extra Space lawsuit in New York by the city of New York. Mm-hmm. And that's sort of indicative of the pressure that operators are seeing from a consumer protection side. And that sort of drills down to the issues of rent control, the issues of pricing and transparency, drip pricing concerns, junk fees. There's just a lot about that's happening with respect to the communication between businesses and their customers or the consumers. And I think that's where we see a lot of the legislative pressure is to focus on those issues. And I think it's the reality of this is because the self-storage business has grown into the type of business where it's a multi-billion-dollar company and there are large players, involved. You've got the BlackRocks and the Goldman Sachs. I mean, it is a business that's no longer a small mom and pop business. This is a national, international, well-funded, financed business, and that draws attention and that brings legislative focus to that industry.
Yeah.
It also just reinforces that operators have to be more informed, right? More informed and more engaged than ever before in this climate.
Well, I tell you, I mean, and I know you'll get to this, Jessica, in terms of education. I mean, I feel like I've never been busier with the arrows that are hitting the industry with respect to these issues. And as Lou said, operators have to stay informed. So they need to come to these conferences. They need to read the newsletters and attend the webinars like what you're doing with Storage Group and the work that Jim's doing with SBOA. I mean, people need to stay connected and informed or they're going to miss the mark. And the liability side can be very expensive.
Just to build on that, I said something to Scott in San Antonio. I literally did a consulting call not too long ago, and I asked to see the customer's lease. Their lease was 1 page. And I'm like, oh my God, how old is this thing? And I said, you need to go see Scott Zucker and get a lease on, or go to the association or do something. But they're both right. The people who are least informed are the ones that are going to cause some of the problems for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, with the introduction, obviously I work for a website development company. What we're posing and being faced with challenge wise from consumers is, I don't need a website company. AI can build it for me. It certainly can. But I mean, what level is it going to be? Same thing I hear people doing with the lease. I don't need to talk to a self-storage attorney or an attorney at all. I'll just have chat write it. And it's like, these things can't go on. These are tools to help you figure things out in your business, not tools to replace and certainly not replicate word for word and copyright. It's just what a nightmare that can turn into from a legal standpoint. So I'm glad you brought that up, everyone, because this kind of segues into my next question. I mean, all of us are not only participants in these conferences as vendors or operators, we are also educators in the industry. All of us speak at most of these events. But what would you say for you, staying in tune with these type of events throughout your career has done for your careers respectively? Scott, I'll start with you.
Well, it's been the key to who I am as a lawyer, is the ability to be at these conferences and these meetings and talk to operators and get their questions. I mean, I learned so much from operators and managers that attend these conferences about what's going on at their facilities. I can be proactive then with regard to my advice, my counsel with how to handle issues because of the people that I've talked to and learned from over these last 4 decades. I mean, we all know some of the main players that have been in our industry for decades that, led the map of how to operate a self-storage facility. I've learned from those people. So it's so important to be present and participate in these conferences.
Yeah. Lou, how about you? What are your thoughts?
I mean, not only has it been huge for me personally, personal growth and whatnot, but what I think where it matters most to me is how it trickles down to the fields, to the stores that we operate. So, when you stay current on best practices, the tools, the processes, that all translates into how our managers anyways operate day to day, how they handle customers, how we price units and how we follow up on leads, like Jim mentioned. So that consistency kind of at the store level improves performance and ultimately increases the value that we bring to our management clients. So education is not just personal growth for me, it's operational improvement kind of across the portfolio.
Yeah, absolutely. Jim, how about you?
Jess, it's interesting. I talk to people all the time, and these shows are fantastic. I mean, we're always learning. I always take 2 or 3 nuggets back from all these conferences. And years ago, I was at a conference and I met somebody and said, "Yeah, I don't come to these things anymore because I know everything I need to know." And I kind of really stopped in my tracks. Said, "Nah, it doesn't, because things are changing." But yeah, and to Lou's point about the networking, I mean, it's like old home week on these conferences. Everybody sees each other, catch up with each other. But the knowledge that gets passed on, and like David Allen, I stopped and David Allen was posted on LinkedIn that he was looking for somebody, and I forwarded his message, shared it for comment for reach, and said, "I've known David for 20 years. He's a great guy to work with." So the networking and the education and the learning, but when you talk to other operators and you can find out things that are going on in their world and what they're doing and how they're handling things, it just makes a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Because why reinvent the wheel if they've got it figured out and it sounds good to you? Why wouldn't you try that in your own portfolio to see if it works, right? Especially if you're, a more newer novice operator in nature, because we still are seeing that activity coming into the industry, maybe not as heavily as it was during the COVID period, but there still is an interest of people that are saying, like, this is my first facility I'm building. I'm looking to get into the industry. So I find that really good from a signal standpoint, that the interest level of us as a sector is still there. And then when you see the institutional money that's being tossed around, like Scott was talking about earlier, obviously you definitely have some stake in the game here as a viable sector to be in. So, we do this, and I think education just in anything is a layered approach, right? So we were kind of, COVID made us go to this digital world. There were webinars and digital conferences, and people ask me all the time, do you think people get fatigue of these? Certainly. I mean, I get fatigued doing them once a month. So there are a lot. This is a production. This is a lot to put on, to gather the speakers, come up with questions, think of things that are timely and relevant to the industry. So you're talking in term and not out of term. I take it as a layered approach, but tell me what your guys' thoughts are on that, because, I think there's even fatigue in going to, in-person events, and like, what is the balance? But there's got to be a balance. You've got to stay connected. I feel like you're out there. I can instantly just sense from a conversation with an owner if they've kind of gone rogue or not, just by certain things that they say. So, Lou, I'll start with you. What are your thoughts on that, as far as like, is it a layered approach? I mean, these are, you can replay this at any time. Like, you can't join me right now at 2:00. You can join me Saturday morning when you're on the treadmill at the gym and watch this,
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's a combination of multiple things, right? You can get information anywhere. But get the information. There's so many different ways to go out there and get. You don't have to go to every single big national show, or the state shows, or that can be exhausting. We're all road warriors and we do it, and just about kills us. But as an operator, pick one that works for you, that's close, that you can afford, that works within your budget, and go. But also join these webinars and the forums and the pages, and get all the information that way. But the conferences are great. They shouldn't be ignored. I think you get the real conversations and the real relationships. That kind of stuff actually happens in person. Real deals are made with personal handshakes still these days. So you get that type of thing out of the conference that you can't get from this platform. But, they're both great and have power in their own ways. So yeah, do a combination.
Yeah. Jim, you have an educational platform over at the SBOA. Tell me what your thoughts are on like the blended approach.
The blended approach is great. I mean, and one of the things I get frustrated sometimes is you said we put all the work into doing these things, hosting them, grabbing the speakers all, and then you have 75 to 80, 100 people register, and then 25 show up, and then you get deflated. Like, is it worth our time? But then we realize how many people are watching it after the fact. They're registering because they want to know, but they can't necessarily be there when we're doing it. So I've kind of shifted my model there, but doing it actually we're now talking about adding podcasts to our bi-weekly webinar, because there's so many people who want knowledge or are looking for it. And we have so many vendors who want to share what's going on, and there's new stuff coming every day that we got to be on top of these things. And doing it in person, doing it in the videos is great. But it's making sure that the message is clear and precise. And the one thing I kind of joke when Lou said find it anywhere, I was going to say don't find it on Facebook, because the Facebook groups drive me nuts with people saying things that they just shouldn't say.
Yeah.
But I think the mixed approach, and just every time I speak, and I just did it in San Antonio, one of my last slides is we can't do without managers. No matter what people say, managers are critical to our industry. And the last line of my slide says, hire them, train them, continue to train them. Continued education is important. And I think that sometimes people forget that. They go to a session, I was there once, I'm good, but they don't continue the education for their managers. And like Scott said, so many things are changing daily, weekly, hourly now, that they have to be informed. There has to be a library of things for people to go out and research and be able to do things with.
Yeah, and like, listen, I get it. It's costly to send an entire team to one of these events sometimes, right? That's just the reality of it. But if you're an owner operator that's not sending your manager, who's your first line of defense, you better be taking some really good notes and disseminating that information back. And I suggest just taking the plunge into your business and investing in your business and going ahead and sending where it makes sense that first line of defense to help you. That kind of leads to my next question. And I do this even still to this day, obviously a couple weeks out prior to a show, like a general schedule is released. And then once they solidify who the speakers are and times and sessions, a more formalized schedule is sent out. I print that out. I highlight where I want to go to make sure I try to stay on task. Like, give me some pointers, Scott, of how somebody can really maximize their experience at a live event, whether they be their first time or they've been coming, because some of them come and they just go right to a marketing session. Like, that's all that they'll go learn about. They won't learn about other things. Like, what would you suggest that they do?
Well, I want to touch on a couple of the themes that you've brought up and Jim and Lou have talked about. Is the SSA, I know, has heard the issue about multiple state conferences and multiple meetings and how hard that is on operators and certainly on vendors. Mm-hmm. So we're starting to see these combined state meetings that I think are going to be really successful. I know the Northeast Self-Storage Association, put together 5 or 6 states, the Mid-Atlantic. Mm-hmm. You've got the Ohio, Kentucky, regional meetings. And I think that will help folks a lot, certainly help the vendors, because I know that otherwise the vendors are trying to go to all these state meetings, and that's a lot. And sales is one thing, but being a road weary warrior is another thing. But that's one thing. But I think the key, if I can add, about these conferences and the meetings and the webinars is the necessity of innovation in this business. Because to think of yourself as simply renting space by itself may not be good enough anymore as a business operator. They have to be thinking about the other aspects of this with technology and other services. And you learn those things, and you learn the best practices concerning those other areas at these meetings and in these webinars. So that's really what I'm focusing on for folks is staying up to date with the innovations that are out there that make their businesses easier and more profitable, reduces their expenses, gets the resulting NOI that they're looking for. So going back to your question about, what should they be doing when they come to a conference? They have to be open-minded. They have to be, what Jim's saying, not believing they already know everything. They have to go in with the opportunity to learn something new, even if it's one thing that will ultimately help them concerning the operation of their business. From my perspective, my goal is to keep people out of trouble. So hopefully they attend the legal session, but I hope they go to a marketing session and a management session and a technology session. And I think that checks all the boxes.
Yeah. Jim, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, Jess, I do the same thing when I don't know how people download the app, but I'm downloading the app and I'm clicking on the sessions I want to go to. I'm highlighting, like you said, I'm strategically planning my day out. And I know a lot of us vendors were busy with meetings, but I still need to make sure I get to some of these sessions. And like even in San Antonio, my team, we divided and conquered. Okay, we want to see this, this, and this. Who's going where? And then we recap ourselves. So we're doing that so we can hit them. Like I know in San Antonio, I was speaking against same time as John Lawson, so I couldn't sit on John's session, but I had somebody go into his session for me to take good notes for me. So I love when people go to these things, but sometimes they go there just for the social events, which is great in itself. They put a great party on, they do those things. But if you're not going to the education centers, I mean, even like Scott's Legal Hour, I sit in the Scott's Legal Hour every time I go, because every time I'm there, between him and Carlos, there's some little tidbit I'm going to walk away from. And this year he had Joe Doherty with him. So you're always getting those nuggets. And if you have to go into the mindset, I never want to be the smartest person in the room. I want to learn from the smart people around me. And that's how we all get better.
Yeah, absolutely. Lou, anything you want to add?
No, I mean, the shows are so big and overwhelming, and there's so much noise coming at you, So as an operator, I think, like you said, plan your attack, pull the agenda, and then just stay open. Attend a little tidbit on everything, visit the trade show floor for the love of God, all of those vendors that are out there with all of this great tools and techniques and, automation and everything that we do and sell in the industry. I mean, that's your place to get everybody in the same room. And if you go with a group of people, separate and meet somebody new, sit at a table with people you don't know and get out of your comfort zone and have conversations, because that's where the most interesting stuff comes up. It's just talking to some random people that you don't know.
Yeah. Jim, you always say meet 5 people, Jim, right? That's always your recommendation to everybody. 5 new people.
I learned that from Norm Shore. Whenever I go somewhere, if I go, like even at the SSA Cafe, when I go into the cafe, if I'm having breakfast or grabbing a drink, I'll scan the room. I will purposely pick a table that I don't know anybody at and sit down and introduce myself. Now, Scott knows more people than I do, so it's probably harder for Scott not to meet 5 new people. But I always try to sit down with people I don't. It's great to see everybody, but I want to meet new people and see what's going on out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's looking for other Philly fans, but he won't find them. So you can keep looking.
Well, it's easier to find a Phillies fan than a Braves fan.
Oh, goodness. Oh, Lord.
Watch out, Jim. I could sue you, so be careful.
Exactly. You messing with Jim. You better be smarter than that. I'm going to pop this question up. I put it in the chat. What's holding you back from attending more conferences or investing in education? Education can be webinars like this or mastermind classes. It's not always in-person events, but we want to know what's holding you back. And actually, Camille put this comment in here, and this kind of pairs nicely into my next section, but I want to shout this out for Camille. We do a lot of internal education for our managers, taking what we learn from conferences, webinars, etc., and transmitting it in our own way, which is super smart. You have your own brand, you have your own business model. It should be transformed back into your culture, your language. Absolutely. But and Lou, I'm going to start with you on this one because you work for Universal Storage Group year after year from the Inside Self Storage. They do the Best of Business Awards, which, by the way, voting goes until the end of March. Please vote for the Storage Group. We're in 6 categories. Jim's in some categories, Lou's in some categories, and I don't think Scott has stuff that goes into categories. But if he does, vote for Scott too. But anyway, Universal typically wins a management program, or you've won it several years in a row, or it's been all over the place. I don't remember. I'll let you talk about it, but tell me about that and tell me how people can get access to that and what your beliefs are on formalized in-house training for your team.
Yeah. I mean, our most valuable asset, it's our people, right? It's our managers. You could take a really amazing manager and put them in a dog of a property and they'll make it successful. And vice versa, take a terrible person and plop them in an amazing store at a great location and it can bomb. So they're everything. So we really, really invest and believe in our people. And we have a whole team that, just oversees the training of our folks. And, right from the first hire, and we have portals where they go for classes, ongoing classes. We have webinars every month for ongoing education, talking about new things that are happening. Like everybody has said, this industry changes every day. So we have to keep everybody informed. We have to keep our trainers informed. So we have a train the trainers type of program. So they all learned and then they, go down and teach it to the people. So just have a formal plan of some sort, have an outline that you go through that touches on everything. Have mentors or be a mentor, right? To develop those relationships and have that information trickle down. Just don't hire people and say, do good. Hi, do good. Just go out there and do a great job. Set goals, set KPIs, and then train them on how to achieve those things and then measure it. So make sure that you're paying attention and you're measuring how your field is doing, and are they doing it the way that you've trained, or that it's really funny. You have a question coming up, but I'm going to speak out of tune. We adopted AI technology to do our phone shops for our managers. And it's really funny because we kind of switched gears on the way we train our managers to sell on the phone from how it used to be back in the day. It used to be the primary reason of a phone call was to convert that caller into a walk-in, right? Because once you get them into the store, you're going to sell. You're going to sell to them. You're going to close them. And now it's become, with the change in how the industry operates, people don't want to come to the store anymore. They don't want to come to the brick and mortar. So we've changed to the purpose of the phone call. If you're lucky enough to get somebody to call you, you better close that deal on the phone, right? So lease for them over the phone. And that's how we train. And, I go around touting how great our managers are, and this is what they do. And then we signed up for this technology, and I think our overall, it's terrible. It was like 27% of our managers were selling the way we thought all of them were, So we put in this piece of technology, and in less than 8 months, I think we went from 27% to 85%. And we've seen an increase in conversions from that. It's easily measured. So, we thought they were doing a great job. They weren't. We weren't doing our job in teaching them the right way and measuring it and analyzing it. So that, that's a perfect example of a great piece of technology it's worth its weight in gold. And it's worth the investment that we put into it. So, just having these procedures and policies in place goes a long way.
Yeah, absolutely. Jim, I'll shoot this one to you because I know with the SBOA and just like throughout your years of consulting, you've tended to talk to, like smaller to mid-size operators that don't necessarily have these large training budgets to do some of this stuff. So how can somebody with a small training budget stay competitive and stay informed?
Well, Jess, that was me when I was with Freedom. We grew to 30 stores, but we had 9 when we started. So when I first got there, there was a lot of this one knew that, whatever. We started, we built an ops manual, we built a training manual. And then what we did once a month, we took our manuals and did a survey monkey. We did a survey to all the managers, and they had like 5 to 10 questions, and they had to answer all the questions that came out of our operations policies. And then we knew where we had to focus sometimes. So just because you're small enough, a survey monkey is a great tool. You can send to your managers, you can grade them how they're doing. And then the ones that don't answer correctly, you can sit down with them. And what I found over the years is most managers want to do a really good job. The problem is they don't know what they're doing. Jess, Jim Ross and I host a storage meetup every Friday. Last week or the week before, we had a girl in there said she's been a manager for 4 months. The owner hired her, gave her the keys, and here you go. And she had no idea what she was doing.
Yeah, so training knowledge.
Tribal knowledge. But we're using survey, and Survey Monkey's an easy one. If you don't have an operations manual, get one. Make one, find one, whatever. And then the biggest thing I've learned from talking to owners and operators, and Lou, you've probably seen this 100 times, the owners don't know how to do the job, so they can't get their managers to do it. That's where consulting comes in. I mean, I've been consulting all over the country, and I'll give you a funny one. I just did one in Georgia. Said to the owner, I said, what's your average length of stay? He goes, I think it's 8 to 12 months. His average length of stay is low. He had 3 stores. His lowest length of stay was 48 months, Jess. $3,700 lifetime value of that customer, and he did not know that information.
Yeah, that's I mean, it's alarming on some of the things that we see, right? That they just don't know, and they need to know. This is critical to their business, especially like I said, when you have these big players gobbling up markets that are going to come in with budgets that you are going to have a really hard time competing against. You really need to elevate yourself and make yourself stand out in these markets, because trust me, there are consumers that want to shop local, support local. They don't want to support a big Brock's, a big brand name. So you have a place in the market. Just you need to make sure you're showing up first and that you are doing all the things that you need to be doing, even down to CapEx, making sure your facility is well sound, it looks good, it's inviting, there's not potholes that are going to ruin someone's tire that's driving through your aisles. Like all these things go into play. Go ahead. Somebody was going to say something. Sorry. Go ahead, Jim.
I was going to make a point. The session I just did in San Antonio was setting your store apart, and I went to John Collins at National Storage Painting and said, "John, I need pictures from a before and after that he does." And I follow John online. John's a great guy, right?
Yes.
The impact painting can have on your property's value is astronomical. And we did that. We had an owner. We convinced him to paint the property. And the customers that were coming in when we were painting were amazed how much better the property looked. They felt more comfortable with the property. And then when they got a rate increase, they were like, okay, these guys are spending money on the property. They're investing back in the property. I understand what's going on now.
Yeah.
But little things like paving and lighting and painting are huge to make your property stand out. And just not to piggyback what you said, Jess, I've been in markets where people are now putting banners, locally owned, locally operated signs on their property, on their websites that they're advertising. We're here, we're local, we own this, we care. And people will flock to that.
Yeah, absolutely they will. Absolutely they will. Scott, I've got two for you next. You typically talk to us when we're in trouble or on the verge of some trouble. Luckily, I don't call Scott often, so that's a good thing. But I'm sure you have seen many, many mistakes along the years. But if you could pick out like a couple common ones, what are those most common ones you see someone new, or even maybe not necessarily new, maybe that's like scaling and they scaled too fast or didn't scale properly? Like, what are those mistakes you see?
Well, it's so fun for me to listen to you guys talk about this business from each of your independent perspectives, because sometimes I get sort of pigeonholed in the regulatory compliance side, and I just see things from the legal side as compared to how Lou's talking about training and management, and Jim's talking about painting the building for marketing purposes. I think that what is fascinating about our business, it's a really hard business, and if you think about what the real estate business is for self-storage, and the fact that the average facility has 500, I'll call them 500 doors, and each door is a month-to-month tenancy and rotating frequently, and the pressure of renting those units. These are not annual leases that a lot of commercial landlords will have. They could have multiple tenant spaces in these strip centers and have their leases set and then just go off and not worry about managing the property. But this is a continuous daily operation of renting real property. It's really hard. So now we've got issues with property management systems that should make things a little easier for people to track, but rates are constantly changing. Occupancy is constantly changing. The complexity of the tenants and their needs are constantly changing. This is a tough business. So where you ask where people are getting off track is exactly going back to what these guys are saying, is that they're not staying up to date with how they're supposed to handle these constant changes with best practices, and not keeping up to date. I mean, fortunately, Jim was talking about a one-page lease. Well, that gives me heart palpitations, because that's an operator that hasn't protected itself with regard to the rights that they have as a landlord and operator. Their lease is not sufficiently compliant to protect themselves. But if they're not being trained, like Lou's talking about, then they're losing money every day because they're not doing the things they need to lease up their properties. So I just think people need to understand this is not a business that someone can just buy a self-storage facility and think it will operate itself. They need guidance. They need consultants. They need third-party managers many times. They need advice from the storage group with websites. They need advice from SBOA with regard to the proper vendors to use. We all need each other to succeed in this industry. It is not an easy business.
Yeah, I agree. And Scott, I can see someone's financials and even their lease up and how their lease up is tracking, and tell you instantly if they had a feasibility study done or not. You know what I mean? I can sniff it instantly when I'm like stuck at 45% occupancy. I've been there for the last 12 months. And then I'm like, it's just a common indicator of like, they didn't take, and that's painful for anyone out there. We highly recommend feasibility studies if you're getting involved in this. Typically, for a good one, I'd say they're about 8 to 12,000. I think Lou, your group does those. We know other people, but an $8,000 to $12,000 investment to protect yourself on a several hundred or $1 million asset, like, makes total sense. Like, yeah, do you want to fork out a check for 10 grand? No, but I promise you what it can do for you on the upside as far as protecting you and making sure you're doing this the right way and a smart way is viable. So my next question to you, Scott, is I was going to ask, what innovations are currently transforming self-storage industry? And like, you're going to hear AI. There's a lot of AI products coming into this industry. So I want to talk about that as far as innovation with Jim and Lou and you, Scott, but more specifically you, Scott. And actually, I'm part of the Florida Self-Storage Association. We're doing a webinar on this actually next month about the proper usage of AI. But talk to me a little bit about that from like a legal standpoint, Scott.
Well, I mean, these guys can talk best about how to incorporate and implement AI into the operation of the business. From the legal perspective, for me, it's important to recognize that an AI agent cannot replace the necessity for live access for a property where you have tenants coming onto a facility and have particular needs. There's always an underlying obligation for that landlord to provide ordinary care for its invitees onto that property. Invitees include tenants, their guests, and their vendors. These are people that they've allowed to be on the property. So AI can be informational and certainly responsive, maybe more responsive than live agents, but the need of having a live agent is, from my point of view, at this point, a legal necessity to avoid risk if people are coming onto your property. Now, the second aspect of this is how this data is being used and gathered with AI, and how to protect the data and the privacy of the information that's being shared with these AI agents with regard to the transfer of this information to others as part of the sales process, as part of the algorithms being used for pricing. There's a lot of secondary steps. There has to be disclosures and transparency about how this data is being used and protected. And lastly, the risk that this data that's being gathered through AI is potentially subject to being stolen or corrupted. And therefore, operators need to have the right insurance in place if something goes wrong with this control of data. So as we can see, you say one thing, and then I can already think of 3 or 4 risk factors that go with it. It's all great, but there is another side to these stories that operators need to be prepared for and cover themselves in terms of liability protection.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the insurance, especially as it relates to cyber insurance. It is out there. It is available. If you use a professional employment organization, most of those have a layer of that in their offerings for their benefits, but you absolutely should have some cyber insurance when you're collecting people's private information and data, credit card information. We've seen cyber attacks on small businesses. It'll wipe them out. I mean, you can kiss yourself goodbye if that happens. So we don't want that to happen to you. Lou, I'll start with you and then followed by Jim. And Lou, you kind of alluded to this earlier in your reference about not training your staff properly on that AI product. But what kind of new AI products has Universal implemented or is looking to implement? Or maybe you don't want to share the secret sauce, but tell me things that you think are interesting that you would recommend someone implement.
I mean, we definitely utilize AI technology for our revenue management. Everybody out there needs to have some sort of revenue management program that's not optional anymore. So that really helps us. Call handling, follow-up, like lead follow-up, marketing automation, content generation, obviously the phone shops, so manager review type things. We utilize AI for data, so like lifetime dashboards for our owners to be able to go in and retrieve their data lifetime. Cameras, right? So cameras that are utilizing AI technology to determine who's on the property. And gosh, there's just so much. I'm probably missing about 50.
Yeah,
I think everything is utilizing AI right now, and I don't even realize it. I don't think I could function without AI personally.
ChatGPT is my new best friend. I
It is
talk
my new best friend too.
more throughout the day than I talk to my significant other, so that's pretty sad. But I talk to chat a lot.
All right, Jess, what did you name your chat GPT? Come on, what's the name of your chat?
I still haven't named her. She's a her, but I don't know what to name her. I have to come up with
mine is named Jimmy.
Jimmy. I love it. There you go, Jim.
No. We don't answer to that name. I'm sorry.
I know. Jim, how about you? What are you guys doing with AI?
We partner with Mercantile Systems for the mystery shopping program. They're doing a lot with AI there. We talked to Unity AI with Maggie Bodie. There are so many phone systems coming out there with AI. You got Swivel's got AI. I've challenged each one of my staff that we're all going to pick a different AI platform and we're going to use it. That way we're all testing Perplexity and Gemini and Google and ChatGPT and there's a list of them. So we're all doing that. And I'm using it more and more every day. Like now, I did 2 press releases this week. Now I wrote the press release, and then I dropped it into Perplexity for them to tweak it for me to see how put a little verbiage on it. But I can tell you, every time I've done it, Jess, I've had to go back and tweak it a little bit more because it took something out of context. So
yeah,
I've seen too many people that are using AI and just relying and trusting on it. That's not good. And like you mentioned earlier about somebody doing their lease through AI, that would just drive me nuts. I mean, I can't. I'm going to use it as a tool, but I'm not going to have it, take over for me. I can't.
Yeah. You got the smart people learn how to use it to enhance their people, not replace their people.
Oh, yeah. I'm smart people now. See that, Jess? I'm smart now.
Don't toot his.
Thanks, Lou.
So I want to mention 2 AI products that we have at the Storage Group. So we have AI Chat. It's called Aiden Chat. It is a chat bot that can be embedded on the front page of your website, help answer questions. Pretty sophisticated, even if it says, if I say I want a 5x5 non-climate, it integrates with the property management system and it will output, this one is in inventory. Do you want to rent it? So it's also becoming a sales agent for you where you can rent after hours or you can rent through just this technology out, embedded in the website. Another one we have as well is our phone agent. So a tenant can call this phone number. It's completely an AI agent that is answering like those preliminary questions, getting them through. So here's a quick study that we did on our chat. Aiden recently, for a group of ours, answered 300 chats. And let's say a phone call in self-storage, depending on the complexity of the call, can take anywhere from 5 minutes. I need my gate code. I need to know how to pay my bill. I need to change my credit card, whatever that may be. That doesn't take very long. They have an issue with insurance, or they lost access, or they're delinquent. Things that take longer in nature can last up to like 20 minutes. So we met it in the middle at 12 and a half. So let's say 300 phone calls that take 12 and a half minutes. That's 79 hours of somebody being on the phone that we can eliminate. We took that by an $18 an hour average pay that, most people are getting like 18 to 20, 22 in certain markets. And that's driving $1,440 to the bottom line for this owner's portfolio in time savings. So, but the AI sometimes won't know the answer. And that's when human support needs to come into play. So it is a blend. We just did a panel on this, or a roundtable on this, I'm sorry. And I quickly want to play for you. This is just a quick recording of me talking to our AI agent so you can hear it. So stand by.
Thanks for calling the Storage Group. How can I assist you today?
Hi there. I need to rent a unit, please.
Of course. I'd be happy to help. We can go over available unit sizes and prices. Then I can connect you to a human to finalize the rental. Could you tell me what size you're looking for, or give me an idea of what you'll be storing?
Sure. I need to store a 3-bedroom home.
Got it. For a 3-bedroom home, you might need a larger unit, something like a 10 by 20 or even a 10 by 25. Let me check the exact availability and pricing for you. One moment. We've got a few options that could suit storing a 3-bedroom home. There's a 10 by 20 self-storage unit available for $71 per month. And we also have a 20 by 20 climate-controlled unit for $127 per month. Both come with 1 month free as a promotion. Would you like more details on either of these, or should I connect you to a human to complete the rental?
What is climate controlled?
Climate-controlled units maintain a stable temperature and humidity level. They help protect items like furniture, electronics, and documents from extreme heat, cold, or moisture. It can be a great option if you're storing anything sensitive or valuable. Would that be something you'd consider for your items?
Yes, please.
Great. The 10 by 20 climate-controlled unit is a popular choice for that kind of storage. I can connect you to a human representative now to reserve it. Let me transfer you.
How cool is that?
Pretty cool.
Yeah. So I mean, you definitely can tell it's AI. There's some pausing, right? You can tell, and like this is stuff that we're going to refine as a team over time. But I love Aiden Chat. I love our Aiden Phone Agent. I think that these are going to change the game and really help operators be, like I said, more dialed in. Thank you, Danielle. Well, we have about 5 more minutes, so I want to just start wrapping up. Any final thoughts that I'll let everybody do like a speed round of final thoughts of what you think a suggestion could be for all of our great listeners today to really make sure that they're dialed in, they're staying tuned in to events like this, white papers, blogs. There's so many places you can get information. And if you don't know how to get it, I promise you, one of the 4 of us will help you find your way. So Scott, I'll start with you. Last thoughts.
Well, first of all, I'm trying to get over the fact that the AI agent kept saying, if you want to talk to a human, and it's so funny to hear the phraseology. I might recommend, a live agent or some other name other than a human, because I have this whole sense of Terminators taking over the world.
We did put that in the suggestion box. That is an old recording. So probably the new one does say live, not human. We did notice that. And we were like, wait, we want to make sure it doesn't say human.
Yeah, it sounds a little insensitive. But I would my last round comment would be, I'm a little worried about making sure that operators, for exactly the reasons we've all been talking about, that sort of the danger aspect of not staying compliant with the changes that are happening out there with the laws, with best practices, with proper training. So I hate to be the guy. I mean, leave it to a lawyer to be negative about this, but if you're gonna operate a self-storage facility, it is a responsibility to stay informed and stay current, especially about the laws in your particular state. Every state law is different. Self-storage, unfortunately, there's no unified model law for self-storage, so they're all a little bit different. So I guess I just need to remind people that it's an awesome responsibility to be a self-storage operator. You've got great resources to help you with all these people that are on this call and all these conferences, so take advantage of it. People are here to help. I mean, I think the underlying theme for all of this, and I think you all speak to this as great as anybody else, is that it's a really friendly industry. People are out there willing to help others and share information. There's not really backstabbing, even with competitors in the same market. So again, be open to talking with others. You'll learn a lot.
Absolutely. Lou, how about you?
I heard something recently that really stuck with me. Someone said, with every great new idea, something old dies. Right. So, like when the internet came along, the yellow pages, they didn't evolve, right? They disappeared. Yeah. So I think the question isn't whether AI is coming. I think it's what parts of our business won't survive it, maybe. So I think that we're going to see slower, inconsistent lead follow-up is going to disappear. Speed is becoming non-negotiable. Right. Jim alluded to that. I think gut-based pricing decisions are going to be replaced by data-driven strategies. I think inconsistent or untrained sales processes are going to lose to coached performance. So I don't think everything is going to get replaced. And I think that the operators who win will be the ones that use technology to support their people, not replace them. I don't think the future is less human. I think it's just going to be more disciplined, and it's going to be supported by better tools.
That was
That's
awesome.
That's a mic drop right there.
That
Wow,
was, like,
great, Lou.
I'm just gonna we're gonna cut off right here.
Yeah, I have to follow that. Thanks. How do I follow that? I don't know.
Wow.
I can't. No, Lou, you're right, 100%. I think what the technology is going to allow us to have our the employees we have doing a much better sales job and taking the better quality calls. I think 10 Federal said it at one of the conferences that they're now taking the using AI calls to funnel the quality calls and handling the minutia. And the calls that can't get handled by AI are going to their better trained agents to have a better experience for the customer on the phone. And just the one thing I think that some of the AI things are missing right now is there's not an out for some of the generation who don't want to talk to technology. So there's got to be that fine line for people to be able to walk in both worlds. But I think, and Lou, to your point, I've already seen it with the call centers with XPS and OpenTech. They are doing a better job on training their people to be able to handle the calls that get through to them after the AI handles the basic calls. So I think you're going to see more of that happening, and I think you're going to see more things evolve. And even just to your point about public storage going into secondary, tertiary, I'm not afraid of it because we've always known that we can steer a ship faster than they can. We can make changes faster, so we can adapt faster. I think we just need to utilize the tools. We're constantly learning, constantly evolving, and just, don't be afraid. I mean, anybody knows me knows I would rather drive the train than ride it. I don't want to say what everybody else is doing, and I hate the phrase, that's the way we've always done it. And I still hear that today. And anybody who has that mantra or mentality is going to get left behind.
Yeah, totally agree. Absolutely. Well, I have to close this out. I have a couple final announcements before we get out of here. As I said earlier, next month is the ISS. That's going to be April 7th through the 10th in Vegas. We'll show you some information about that here in just a minute. But we will be there at booth number 323. Jim, how about SBOA? You'll be there?
We will be there. We have a 10 by 20 booth with SBOA and SBOA tenant insurance. I don't know the booth number. I apologize, but we will be there. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, you can find that booth number in Jim's newsletter that comes out on Tuesdays. I'm sure it's in there, right, Jim?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Mikhail does a great job with that.
Yeah. How about you, Lou?
Yeah, of course, we will be there in our purple jackets and purple shoes and purple everything. And I don't know what my booth number is either. Sarah Beth handles all that. She's my work wife.
Well, there's a floor plan on the ISS website. So if you want to find any of us, go find that floor plan on InsideSelfStorage.com. You can go to their expo. Scott, are you going to be there?
Yeah, I'll be speaking at the conference. Look forward to seeing everybody there.
Awesome. Yeah, we're doing the Manager Summit. So sign up for the Manager Summit first.
Yes. Universal does a great manager summit. I've been to it. Again, they win the management award. They do a really excellent job. I'll be there speaking at the marketing Q&A session on Thursday. I think that starts at 11 a.m. But before we conclude, I'm going to throw up 3 slides for the audience. The first one is, thank you for attending today. If you're interested in the storage group and any of those products that I showcased and talked about, you'll be able to scan that code and you can request a demo from us. Save the date for next month. We do these webinars once a month. So on that webinar, there will be a QR code where you can register for our next month's webinar. That's going to be on Thursday, April the 23rd. And then the third one, is going to be about voting for ISS. Like I had mentioned earlier, you can vote all the way until March 31st. There's many categories, many great vendors and providers in those categories. And I'm sure everyone would appreciate your vote. So I'm going to remove myself from screen. I'm going to throw up those last 3 slides. If you could take a moment and scan those and join us, request a demo and vote for us at ISS, we would thoroughly appreciate that from you. So stand by.